There seems to be a common perception that when we start engaging with AI in some type of conversation, when we start using ChatGPT or Code Interpreter, that somehow we're going to become less creative, that it's going to make us just let it do all the work. But I want you to see that really this is a tool to help inspire creativity in humans. And it's all about having humans start to ask questions that they're not asking today. This is part of what we want to do, is inspire people to really start asking questions about thinking about different ways to do things and using these tools to help them think of different ways to approach things or to inspire new jumping off points and ideas. Because when you really engage with the tool in sort of a more sophisticated way, it's not about having it do all the work for you. It's about asking it the right question, getting it to generate output, and then using that as a jumping off point to other creative avenues of exploration that you never could have gone and explored before because you didn't have the time to go and jump off and do that. It's a lot like going into a room with a lot of interesting people with diverse perspectives and having them help you brainstorm. But imagine a room where you go in and nobody's going to say anything unless you ask the right questions. And that's really one of the key things that you need to learn to do with this tool, is to ask the right questions. But when you do, then what you can do is you can really help inspire better problem solving and creativity. So I'm going to show you how to do this. Now, when you're thinking about something like, how would I do this or how would I do this? Whatever it is you're thinking about, take a moment and just go into ChatGPT and say, give me 10 different ways of solving this problem, or 10 different ways of thinking about this issue, or 10 different perspectives, or 10 different whatever it is, or 3 or 4, whatever it is, but get more than one, because often we get into this path of just going down, I'm only going to think about what I know, and only my perspective is all that I'm going to look at. I've solved this problem in the same way before. That's the only way I'm going to consider solving it. Or this is my perspective on the issue. That's the only thing I'm going to look at. So use it as a tool to help you understand different ways of solving problems, different perspectives, different audiences, all kinds of things. So now I'm going to give you an example of this. So in the faculty workshop that I had on Vanderbilt's campus, I had a set of slides that I had created for it. So I was going to be talking to a number of faculty from across the campus, a variety of different departments. So I started off by taking my slides and I uploaded them to Code Interpreter, and I just said, please read and summarize the key points on each slide. So Code Interpreter goes through, reads all of my slides, starts summarizing them. I tell it to proceed through the rest of the slides, and it goes through and summarizes the slides, and I keep working through it until it finishes summarizing all of my slides, which I had over 116 slides. So what do I do then? And how do I approach using this as a tool to help inspire my creativity and help me get outside of my own normal way of thinking about things, right? Well, I say, act as a skeptic of everything I say in this presentation. Find flaws in my assumptions, assertions, and other key points, and then generate 10 hard questions for me. Like, I'm the one who's so excited about all this stuff, right? And I'm generating my slides. I've captured these ideas in my slides. Well, turn around and give me the opposite perspective. Give me the hard questions. Look at what I'm saying in my slides. Now, what's amazing is that it can do this and it can do it well. So assumption 1, ChatGPT and similar tools will bring incredible increases in productivity, which is exactly what I essentially assert in my slides. And the question is, isn't it possible these tools might also introduce new challenges and inefficiencies, such as the need for additional oversight or the risks of misuse? And that's a great question. Of course, that's an issue with these tools. And so then thinking about that helps me to, frame, when I go in and give this presentation, I can give a better presentation because I've thought through that question and that issue. Or if I look down here, ChatGPT is surprisingly effective at self-assessing content. And then the question is, given that ChatGPT is fundamentally a machine learning model without an understanding of content, how can it truly assess in a meaningful and reliable way? That is an interesting question. How do we know it's going to be reliable in its self-assessment? And if you're going to rely on that, how can you trust it? It's a great question. So this, basically allowed me to then go and rethink my presentation and what am I missing? What are other points or perspectives that I need to be thinking about? Now, I could have stopped there and just said, hey, give me the questions. And that's always a great way of going about things. But another way of looking at it is to say, okay, now I've got the questions. Go ahead and also generate 3 different possible ways of addressing each of these questions. So I can have it look at both sides of the question. I can have it be the one that's going to question all of the assumptions, that's going to ask the hard questions, and then I can have it go and try to answer its own questions and come up with perspectives. And so if we look at question 1, isn't it possible that these tools might also introduce new challenges and inefficiencies, such as the need for additional oversight or the risk of misuse? It says absolutely. Like any technology, AI tools can introduce new challenges and risks. However, the key is to develop a robust governance and oversight mechanism to manage these risks effectively. I think that's true. While there may be new challenges, the potential benefits in terms of increased productivity and efficiency can outweigh these. It's about managing the risks and harnessing the potential. I think that's another great way of looking at it. Now, I could have gone back and forth on these issues many different times, but the key is, the next time you go and give a presentation, you don't have to just give it blind and not have thought through what are the assumptions you're making that may be incorrect, or what are the points that you're making that people may not be, agree to. You can start looking at it from different perspectives. Now, I gave it the perspective and the persona of a skeptic, but you could give it all kinds of different perspectives. Act as somebody who's very concerned about ethics, or act as somebody who's concerned about cybersecurity, and you could go and target the audience. I could have gone and looked at the different departments that we're going to be attending, and I could said, act as a professor in biostatistics, now be a skeptic of everything I say and have a more pointed set of questions that are tailored to the background in that domain. But you see what's happening here. It's inspiring me to think deeper about my presentation and the topics I'm going to cover. It's also inspiring me and helping me to think through different perspectives that may not be my own, and I could even target the perspective to different departments or different feelings about AI. And so that's really effective. And then it's also helping me think through different ideas and ways of responding to those questions, different perspectives. And these may be exactly what I've got, or I may not agree with them and I may throw them away, but at least it got me thinking and inspired to think. And then I went through this process and it generated all these different responses to the potential questions. Then I thought, well, let's go and try to visualize something in this presentation. I said visualize, the ways that I could address these questions, which it kind of pointed out that wasn't a very good, way of doing things, and it explained to me why. I would need more data, but it didn't really have it. And that then triggered up, a way of saying, well, just try something else. Even if it's more textual, give me some visualization of my presentation to help me think about what's in there. And then it came up with different themes and went and then visualized the different themes within my presentation, which was really interesting because I hadn't really thought about, I had 116 slides. I'd never really thought about what are the themes in my presentation. Am I missing important themes? Are there other, things I want to touch on? And so this had a lot of different, sort of key ideas, and it really did a good job of sort of, capturing important information for my presentation, visualizing it, and helping me think about it. Which also then I started to think about, well, maybe there's some areas that I'm not really effectively covering in this that I should go back and cover. Now, I thought, well, at the beginning of the workshop, I wish I had done something. At the very beginning of the workshop, when I was trying to plan it, I thought, okay, well, how am I going to collect registrations? And then how am I going to send out emails afterwards, or how am I going to send out emails to everybody with the link so that people can join online for the presentation? And I should have, and now I will never not do this again, is I should have gone and asked, Code Interpreter. So I said, the slides are for a workshop, I'm hosting for faculty, I don't want to spend any money, but I need to have a mechanism for managing registrations and sending out email notifications with the Zoom link for the workshop. Give me 3 different approaches for this process and reference specific tools that I could use. So then it goes and says, okay, I could use Google Forms and Google Sheets, Eventbrite, the free tier, or Microsoft Forms and Microsoft Power Automate. And I could have gone and had it generate 10 additional ideas for me and keep thinking through. Now what's interesting is at the time I had used Google Forms and Google Sheets, But if I'd run this, I might have gone and explored other ideas. I just was familiar with doing it through Google Forms and Google Sheets. And so I was used to solving the problem that way. But now I have other ideas about how I could solve it. And so I would go back next time and think through them, or get Code Interpreter to help me, try to slice and dice this. Now, one of the things that I thought about at the end was, how do I engage the faculty? We've had this workshop, these people are interested. How do I keep them interested? How do I send them follow-up materials potentially that will show them interesting things? And so I uploaded the registration list as an Excel sheet into Code Interpreter. And I basically said, these are the people that registered for my workshop. Don't list any names of people, just look at their departments and ways they are using generative AI, and then give me some ideas for topics, questions, or other things they will care about related to my slides. So let me try to think of some follow-on content that might be relevant. And then it comes up by department, different things that they might be interested in. So example, biostatistics and science, utilizing ChatGPT for statistical analysis and data interpretation, integrating AI into bioinformatics workflows, questions, how can generative AI models enhance the accuracy of biological data analysis? Now that's interesting. People are always talking about them, not being accurate, and this is a question of how can it actually enhance accuracy. And it goes through lots of different departments, or for other groupings, like for attendees not using generative AI, for cross-departmental topics. Here's some topics potentially to explore: introduction to generative AI models and their potential applications, step-by-step guidance on implementing and utilizing ChatGPT. Let's help them get them going. So it's starting to create and get, me thinking about what are topics or questions that would be useful to different groups that I've just had this workshop with. Then I thought about, well, how could I use this to help me interact with them in another way? So I say, I'm going to create customized post-workshop emails for every attendee. I want you to create a list of interesting ChatGPT prompts and ways of combining large language models with each discipline or department. Each department needs at least one very interesting and creative prompt targeting the department's discipline, and one idea of how to apply large language models in the discipline. List all departments and the prompts and ideas beneath them. And so now I get, by department, a list of prompts and a list of ideas for those departments. So, I can see, whatever I want to go. Like, for example, in alumni relations, the prompt is outline a year-long engagement strategy to reconnect with alumni, including events, communication, and collaboration opportunities. So it's generating its own prompt, which somebody in alumni relations could go and use to generate ideas for engaging with alumni, which is fascinating, right? Now they could go and do this, and if they just saw my presentation, now they have a direct prompt that they could go, and if I emailed this to them, they might try it out, and it might help them engage some more with generative AI. And then the idea is implement LLMs to automate personalized outreach and communication with alumni, fostering community building and engagement. That's an interesting idea that they could follow up on. How do we use this to get more personalized outreach? How do we effectively leverage it? So it's an interesting way of going and then generating ideas that I could follow up on. And so I went through a lot of different departments for doing this. And then I went through and I did something interesting. I thought, well, one of the things I'm also going to have to do for all of this is I'm going to have to generate the emails that go out to everybody at the end. So I said, generate 3 exciting post-workshop email templates for myself. And so it goes and generates the post-workshop email templates, along with the place within the templates where these ideas that I had it generate could be inserted. And then the last thing I thought was, well, what else could we do with this? Like, what other ideas can we inspire? And I thought, well, let's look at interdisciplinary collaborations. We have a whole group of people from a variety of departments across all the different schools and campus. And we know they're all interested in large language models. Maybe we can figure out some topics that they could potentially collaborate on. And so I say, come up with 4 interesting interdisciplinary collaborations that could be formed amongst the departments that involve large language models. Use your list of departments, ideas, and the current usage of large language models listed in the registrations to inspire you. And then we get different collaborations between schools to go and potentially look at. So engineering, health and wellness, and health policy, design smart healthcare devices for remote monitoring and intervention. And then it says the engineering department can contribute skills in device design to IoT integration and data analytics, while the health and wellness and health policy department can offer insights into healthcare needs, policy considerations, and community engagement. Together they can create smart devices. And then the application of LLMs is leverage LLMs to analyze health data, enabling early intervention, personalized support, and policy alignment with evidence-based practices. Now this is really high level. It's not super specific, but I had 0 before, and if I wanted to take that idea and that possible collaboration and follow up on it, I could. I could try to make it more specific. I could try to say, feed in the bios of all of the people that were in areas related to this. So I could take a list of attendees, I could filter it down to these departments. I could then go and upload a zip file with all their bios and this idea and say, okay, make this idea more concrete. Who would contribute what? And then I might go and take a zip file of their papers and say, here's the papers that they've done. Who might, give me specific ideas of what they're working on and how it might make this overall collaboration come to fruition. But the whole thing is like once you get going and you realize, wait a minute, I can have it explore this for me. I can have it generate 10 ideas for this. It suddenly becomes not just a tool about simple automation, but it can help you really rethink your approach to things, to come up with ideas that you couldn't come up with or feasibly implement before, to think about how to solve problems in different ways, to think about your audience, to think about their perspectives on issues, to explore the other side of your message, and to really question what are the issues or the assumptions that you're making that may not be wrong. But all these things are kind of key in that they help you inspire better problem solving and creativity when you're using the large language model correctly. And we should be seeking these types of use cases, seeking these ways of using the tool.